Hey everyone, and welcome to another Interstellar Modeler. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you some footage from my visit to the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. And as you know, it's the permanent home of the original studio miniature of the Starship Enterprise. Recently refurbished, the Enterprise is just at the entrance of the Boeing Milestones of Flight exhibit. Now, if you walk into the museum from the National Mall entrance, you'll immediately see some very famous aircraft hanging from the ceiling. These include Chuck Yeager's X-1 and the Spirit of St. Louis. If you enter from the Independence Avenue entrance, the Enterprise will be in its display case just off to your right. Now, most likely when you enter the museum, the model will not be lit just as you see here. The lights come on at 11, 1, and 3 p.m. and stays lit for about 10 minutes each time. At the base of the display is this plaque that you see here, which tells you a little bit about the studio miniature and the television show. The Air and Space Museum opens at 10 a.m., and I got there around 10:30. This place typically draws a lot of people, but at this time it didn't seem too crowded just yet. Since I had about a half hour before the model turned on, I decided to scout out the place and then return about 10 minutes to the hour, and decided to take some video of the ship in the off position. This actually makes the second time for me seeing this model. The first time was over 11 years ago when it still sported the markings from its first restoration. The ship back then appeared heavily weathered, and the grid markings of the primary hull were very prominent. I think most of us now agree that this time the restoration team did a much better job, taking great pains to not only repair the structure of the ship, but to return it to the way we remember seeing it on screen. This 11-foot model was donated back in 1974 and was first put on display hanging from the ceiling. The model underwent its first restoration in the 1990s and was then placed on display in the museum's gift shop. And as promised, the ship came to life at 11 a.m. and looked even more impressive. You can follow the restoration process if you go to the Smithsonian's website. The ship was carefully taken apart and studied in order to make the proper modifications both to the exterior and interior of the ship. You can imagine that after about 50 years, the model was deteriorating, and work was needed in order to keep it from getting worse. The ship was outfitted with new LED lighting, and 12-volt motors were installed to replicate the spinning effect of the nacelles as seen on the TV show. The display case was built with preservation in mind. It's designed to have continuous airflow to help with dust and to maintain a particular level of humidity and temperature. The restoration team also made sure they had access to the wiring. The bridge and bottom dome are now removable. Note how they decided to keep the lack of detailing here on the port side of the ship. It is here where the old wires and cables used to run that powered the ship during the filming of the TV show. In order to keep maintenance to a minimum, it was decided to not run it continuously. So again, I encourage you to check out the Smithsonian's website, and you can also find videos on YouTube detailing the restoration of the famous Starship Enterprise. And as a longtime Star Trek fan, I have to say a big thank you to the Smithsonian restoration team for doing such a beautiful job at preserving this everlasting sci-fi icon. Now, if you've not been to the National Air and Space Museum, here's a brief look at some of the other impressive displays that you can find there. you won't be disappointed. Aircraft carrier that took 12 years to build. And yep, if you haven't guessed it by now, it's of the Enterprise. So I can tell you, this just barely scratches the surface of what you can see at the Smithsonian. It's definitely a trip worth making. Well, that pretty much wraps up this video. I'm going to go ahead and end it with a slideshow. And the first shot is probably something that you won't resist taking either. So take care, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.